Let's bring in Texas Republican Congressman Tony Gonzales now. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. This is a crisis you know all too well, but the numbers seem to be climbing, getting worse and worse. 9,000 a day. They're coming through storm drains, continue to make this dangerous journey, even though the White House is apparently sending the message, do not come. But you've got, take into account that the known gotaways, as our reporters are reminding us, this does not include those numbers of migrants that are coming in, that we see them crossing and they're not apprehended. What are people all over this country supposed to make of what is happening right now?
Thank you for having me, Sandra. Everything this border crisis touches turns to ash, whether it's in Eagle Pass, whether it's in El Paso, whether it's in New York City, Chicago, LA, it does not matter. Small towns, big cities, all of it turns to ash. And we know what the problem is. And thankfully, Fox Network has been showing this over and over again. This is what's happening on the ground. In Eagle Pass today, the mayor will issue an emergency declaration because he is completely overwhelmed. In El Paso, 800 miles, which also is in my district, 800 miles away in El Paso. Right now, there's nearly 6,000 people in custody. A facility that can hold 2,500 people now holds 4,000 people. There's no end in sight. We know what the problem is. Now we need solutions. The solution is we got to put down our political pens and we got to come together because America depends on it. Congress needs to fix this. The president needs to fix this. But enough with the blame game. Now it's time for solutions.
Well, Mayor Adams, you mentioned this is a crisis everywhere, all over the country, no longer just affecting border communities and border states. Mayor Adams here in New York City, he's ordered all city agencies to cut 5% from their budgets by November to help pay for this crisis. Here he is, and the governor of New York singing the blues over all this.
I spoke to the president earlier this year and shared our concerns. That was the last time we spoke with the president. We need an emergency declaration. We need to be properly funded. This is just wrong, what we're doing to New York City residents.
Immigration is a federal problem. It calls for a federal solution. We need your help. Do something.
But these are the very city and state officials who declared this sanctuary status. All migrants welcome. Now they're placing blame on the federal government?
Yeah, it's all fun and games until the crisis hits your city. No amount of money can get us out of this crisis. You can't throw money at this problem to solve it. You can't increase the level of capacity to solve it. It's pretty easy to solve. What you have to do is stop playing the blame game. You got to enforce the laws that are already on the books, meaning this: we should surge immigration judges to the border, and we should get people's cases heard in days, not years. And if they do not qualify for asylum, which 9 out of 10 of them don't, you send them back to the country of origin. That is what you do. You also increase the number of Border Patrol agents that are on the ground, and you pay them more. It's not a difficult problem. Every presidency has had to do this, whether it was President Trump, President Obama, President Bush, or President Clinton. It's time for President Biden to do the exact same thing.
And by the way, you're hearing from the New York City and state officials who are regretting that they can't handle this problem, while they're dealing with a much smaller number of migrants, mind you. While it's a huge problem here, then those border communities. Compare the large number of migrants crossing into Texas versus the small number who have been bused to these big cities, Congressman. And you're looking at 1.8 million into Texas since April 2022. 1.8 million, Congressman. 35,000, while it's still a big number, pales in comparison, that have been bused to the sanctuary cities. Final question to you, Congressman. What is this like for the people in those communities who are at ground zero for this crisis? Can they stand it anymore? What's morale like?
Yeah, those of us that live and work along the border are terrorized, and we have had enough. And we're tired of pointing fingers at who's to blame. We just want this crisis to go away. And I will say this, look, Congress has a role to play in this as well. We can't just be beating up the administration for doing nothing. Congress, Republicans, Democrats, members of the House and members of the Senate need to come together to have sensible solutions that solve the problem. Part of that is focusing on legal immigration. Those that want to come over and work work and do it the right way that so many Americans have done before, we should promote that and we should find real solutions. And those that do not do that and enter illegally or on a terrorist watch list should immediately be sent back. I think we can do both, but it takes bold leadership. And I think now's the time, whether it's a small city or a big city, everybody's overwhelmed.
And I asked that question because of the massive amount of migrants that you all are handling in those areas. And you compare it to San Diego, for example, where they have now declared an emergency, a disaster emergency situation there. They have a mere 2,000 asylum seekers comparatively to what the border towns are dealing with. And leaders there are saying that every emergency room is at capacity in San Diego County, and the homeless shelters are full. Congressman, appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Sandra.
All right.